Yes, people, how are we getting on? So today we're here with my client Mehul, who went from 72.5 kilos all the way down to 60 kilos, absolutely shredded. We're now reversing out, eating 2,500 calories a day, living the absolute dream. So thank you for your time today, Mehul. It's an absolute pleasure. So first sort of thing is let's sort of talk about the start, where you came to me. Like, give me a bit of a background in terms of training experience, diet, what you've done in the past, and sort of things like that.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I'm in my late 30s, 38 now. Basically last, I'd say 15, 20 years, I've been training, working out, gym, usual
Yeah.
stuff. Came to you because I kind of yo-yo dieted last, over the last 10 years easily. I've been yo-yo dieting, going up and down. So I've got myself down where I've gone to like 65, 66,
Yeah.
been up as high as like 80s. So I've gone like massively overweight, dropped loads of weight, gone back up, gone back down. So I sort of know the basics on how to do this stuff,
Yeah.
but was never getting it and finessing it correctly. Um, and then so yeah, basically I'm kind of one of these gym goers standardly, enjoy it, know how to do it a little bit, but never been able to perfect it. So that's where I came.
So
Call it.
what would you say before was like what why couldn't you, because like you said you've done your own transformations. I remember when you started you sort of showed me your transformations. What would you say was the difference between why you couldn't fully get that end result like we did this time? What were you sort of missing, would you say?
So just basically one thing was knowing exactly what to do at the next step. So I mean, I've always, to be honest, in dieting wise before, I've always kind of crash dieted, I would say.
Yeah.
So I've just gone from eating either as I please, eat whatever I want when I want, to then having to control it and just minimizing and eating minimal and eating salads and stuff like that, just to eat everything super low calorie.
Yeah.
Um, and with that, I mean, it's obviously worked, but at the same time, there's a point when you get bored of eating salads every day, same thing all the time, and not really having that variation. So when the flexibility always falls away, you kind of eventually you want a biscuit.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Bourbon, the
so
Bourbon King, we call him,
yeah,
the Bourbon
exactly.
King. So what would you say, like, what was the point where you were, like you said, you've done it loads before. What made you this time be like, ah, right, I'm actually going to reach out for help? What was it?
Okay, so my sister actually had gone through a similar thing. She went through a bit of a transformation of her own. That was kind of on its own. I still like good results from that for a PT. So that was one thing of just knowing if actually you have somebody just setting out the steps for you, setting out a diet plan, all of that stuff. It seems to be like makes life easier, takes the thinking out of it.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I think one of the things is over the last few years, I'd already gone through a bit of a semi-transformation of my own. So I dropped
Yeah.
down from about 82, took that down to about 68 at its best. And then slowly I was trying to creep up from 68 and I got to about 72, 73 again, of
Yeah.
which really just came back on looking fat again, like didn't really look great. So aesthetically, I wasn't getting the result I was looking for, which is when I thought, okay, let me try and reach out for help. Actually, I just messaged you on a whim. I saw some results on Instagram, thought it looked sick. I'd anyway seen a few other PTs out there and I kept my eye on the thing and always wanted to do it, but never pulled the trigger. My sister keeps telling me you should just do it, get it done. But then, yeah, so one of the guys, I did message some others actually, and basically for whatever reason didn't work out. Yeah, and then message you. We had a quick chat, had a quick introduction call, and yeah, I was basically all in. So I was very much convinced from that initial conversation that this is worth going
Yeah,
for.
awesome. What would you like? Would you say you had any doubts at starting? Like, were you skeptical?
Yeah,
What,
definitely.
yeah. What would
I
you
tell
say
you
you,
straight.
what
So
were you most skeptical about?
we had the initial conversation. You obviously, yeah, at that point, I think you kind of just asked about background, about myself, that sort of thing. I sort of explained then as well, like, look, I'm a very busy guy. I've got two kids. I haven't really got time to like, sit and spend hours and hours in the gym, and I haven't got sit and like time to keep on doing all the prep and stuff that you need to do for food in a week and whatever and things like that as well. Um, but actually, and you said, A, it's not going to be that crazy. So
Yeah.
don't worry, you can get shredded without having to do that. Um, B, you kind of also told me because the reason I actually came to you was I said I'm eating and now I'm controlling my calories and counting my macros all that myself anyway. And I was eating at that time about 1,700,
Yeah.
1,800 calories a day. And basically I said that every time I tried to go plus 2,000 calories, I just end up getting fat again, and it's basically frustrating in its own.
Yeah.
You said at that time, you said, I'll get you in 2,500, potentially up to 3,000 calories, and you'll be still be in very good shape. Don't worry. And that to me was just complete lies.
Sold
Like
you the
that was
dream.
never going to happen. Yeah, exactly. But here we are, 2,500 a day, and yeah, still looking pretty good, feeling
Yeah,
pretty good.
mate, you look absolutely insane. So because I think we signed up, you went straight away on holiday, and then you came back, and then we got started. What would you say like the first few weeks, sort of, but what you expected, what happened? What would you say? Would you sort of your thoughts on the first few weeks of the whole process with sending training videos and sort of the whole process in itself?
Yeah, that's like I didn't. So the training videos and all that stuff was a bit weird for me to be fair.
Yeah,
Luckily, so I train actually it's probably worth you guys hearing
yeah,
as well, right? I train at home in my home gym. I don't actually have a membership at one of the standard gyms here. I've during COVID times went and invested in actually setting up a home gym, which is half decent, and I've
very
got
decent.
kind of
Yeah,
equipment that you need, right? So rack, got the normal barbell, dumbbells, and I've
cable.
got treadmill, bike and
Yeah.
stuff as well in case of cardio, although never had to use it that.
No.
Um, so yeah, in terms of the equipment and stuff, obviously I had all of that bit. So yeah, I went and got myself like some equipment to record my sessions and whatever and get that all done. And I was sending back the videos, the clips. Actually, I would say that for everything you've taught me during that kind of initial period of going through the training, starting up, I thought it was going to just all be about diet.
Okay.
But actually, the big thing that I didn't expect and kind of think from it all was that my training was going to be crap initially, and that you're going to improve that so much. Um, and yeah, that was probably the biggest thing that I've learned through it all, just being able to improve on form, timing through the tempo for each of the sets and things, and basically actually the importance of that. So I think you'll remember that kind of the first sessions and the first clips that I did send you, you ended up having to harass me a little bit on the form and how
100%.
bad it was, and basically ego lifting. So
Yeah.
you basically said, look, let's just pull that all in. You'll get much better results if you actually just improve on the form, the timing, and actually take your time with setting out those sets properly. And so that was like the first thing we did. And it felt a little bit like building from the beginning again, but actually just taking it from like, basically pain after a workout. You could feel the difference immediately. So it definitely was working.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing people forget. Like, I think why we got this crazy transformation. Yes, we lost 10, 12 kilos, but I think you built a load of muscle, and that all comes from the training. And like you said, you maybe didn't really, it was like, it's the easiest change. Like, you're not actually putting in any more effort. You're just changing how you're training, right? Like you said, it's not like I'm asking you to go to the gym for hours. It's like, let's just improve the quality. And then from that, now as well, that's going to, the next 10, 15 years of training, you're going to benefit from that. So I think that's like a key thing that people get wrong. What would you say was like the hardest part of the diet? Was it harder than you thought? Were there any things where you were like, God, that was hard? What talk me through sort of that sort of thing, expectation? Because obviously you've dieted before, right? You know the drill. What would you say this time versus last time the di main differences were?
So I mean, my whole dieting inspiration all comes from Instagram.
Yeah,
So it's all the kind of concept of if you hit your macros and then just finding macro friendly versions of everything, all cooking and all that stuff. And it takes a lot of time to be able to make any of those kind of things, all of that sort of stuff. Actually, just pulled it back to basics with the kind of information you're giving me as to the types of food. The first thing you picked out was that I'm hardly eating any vegetables. Um, and actually, by implementing that in the diet as just a staple that goes along every single meal, or most of my kind of main meals, I would say, that was like a massive improvement. And actually, in terms of just being filling for me, that was really good and made the diet way easier. Actually, even at 1,000, kind of with the lowest point when we're hitting probably about 1,500 ish, is
yeah.
I
I
think
think
that's
I think like
probably fine.
1400 maybe even was like the
But
lowest.
like during that time, I was still kind of eating well, not really having too many issues, and never felt like I was kind of, I guess, going to wanting to give up on the process.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, obviously, when you're kind of stick to just 3 meals a day, which is what it was for big chunks of it, or then I'd have like the small snacks in between.
yeah,
It was okay. It's like as in there wasn't really a point when I was absolutely kind of empty all the
yeah.
time. So I told you I was hungry at times, right? I mean,
Uh,
it's all part of the process, right? But you kind of at that stage, you're so invested, you know that
yeah,
it's going, you're getting the results anyway, so you're happy to kind of go along with it at that stage.
100%. Well, because I do remember there were a couple times, like once or twice, where we did not talking about quitting, but being like, right, remember like that week when you were struggling, and then we had a bit of a like a refeed blowout almost sort of thing. But what would you say like during those times when it was hard, what made you like stick it out? Was it like because again before you probably got close and then didn't, whereas this time we got close, right? Then we'd have maybe slight slip ups, but we wouldn't like just fully throw it out the bag. So like what would you
Yeah.
say was the difference this time as to why you did manage to get back on track versus last time letting it all go up?
Well, I think, I mean, I'd probably hit because of the way that I think we started the diet was tapering it down anyway.
Yes.
So that was one difference. Like I say, the times when I've done yo-yo dieting in the past, I've just dropped down massively and kind of just eaten low calories and just stuck with that for as long as I can
Yeah.
before you eventually give in. And kind of hit plateaus where, you know, stuff doesn't move and it kind of you sort of just lose the motivation to carry on as well. With this, there was a steady trickle down of the calories. With
Yeah.
that, results were anyway kind of going through quite quickly, especially in the front end of it. We're getting quick results, and then fair enough, it slowed down later on. But and that's probably the point when I was hitting a bit of a wall at times. But you're kind of 90% of the way there compared to being like 60, 70% of the way there, giving up. So I think it was a big difference in that you've seen that you've come this far with it. So yeah, and I think that that point when we, you know, kind of, I remember having the blowout at one point, which was
Yeah.
pretty much it's just an animal takeaway in the end, right? But during that, that was kind of, I guess, frustration as well from that one holiday where I was expecting, okay, fine, I'll probably be able to eat some food there, and then didn't really end up eating out properly as much as I would have wished to.
Yeah. Because you
So
were
then
ill. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I got sick on holiday, and then that kind of ruined that part of it. So then I was just thinking I missed out on my one window where I thought this is where I'm probably going to allow some flexibility, more flexibility on it all, and then didn't bother doing so.
Yeah.
But that said, I mean, like, yeah, kind of got it out my system, and then carried on back on track. And you're there to basically kind of nail it down. That you know we
Yeah.
haven't got far to go, so just get a system. Let's do this. Finish off the cut, and then at that point, yeah, we're on to reverse, which was onto the fun times.
How would you say, like, with regards to like the accountability, how important do you think that was like in the journey, having someone there with you, not do because like you've done it before, but you've just never had someone do it with you. What would you say the benefits of that were to yourself?
No, it's good. It's good having obviously just daily check-in every day. There's messaging going on, and
Yeah.
even when there's something that comes up out of the blue, you're there basically. I could just ping you a message, and you know you'll be able to reply to me quite quickly as to what you reckon would be the sensible thing to do in this situation. There's
Yeah.
never any sort of force on it, but it's a this is what you should do.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
up to you, go and choose what your path is, but this is what you should do. And even just hearing that was enough to kind of just set straight your thinking, right? Um, but to be honest, I mean, look, I think accountability wise, I feel like that I've been able to do this kind of stuff in the past anyway, when I can kind of control myself. But it's just the length of time that you can do it for,
Yeah.
which, you know, I guess becomes more of a challenge at times. Now, I'd say that I've actually probably dieted for longer spells than I've had to in this window in the past plenty of times. I mean, when I was going through my last weight drop prior to speaking to you, I'd probably done that for about over a year, where I was
Yeah.
eating
Wow.
probably about, you know, less than 1,800 calories for most of it. Um, and during that time, I've actually gone for a long time and was able to stick with most of that, but I just wasn't getting the results or the
Results.
type of results I got this time.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the big things is finding something that you can stick to for a sustained period of time, like we're saying. Because as well, you went on holiday, you went to a lad's holiday to Ibiza, you went to Turkey, you went to Valencia, you were going away most weekends, like had lots of like your work was busy with traveling. So how would you say like your thoughts on being able to manage it all and it being more of a lifestyle thing and the flexibility that, like you said, you didn't have hours in the gym, you couldn't meal prep loads of food. How would you say that all sort of fitted in with the transformation and making it still being able to suit your life?
Yeah, so I think like I've established a bit of a routine with it all, right? So
Yeah,
training was training. That's kind of fine. You didn't have to really do too much to have to change how many hours and how much time I spend
yeah,
in the gym, and whatnot, right? So I think that was fine and all kind of easy to implement. Um, Food wise, yeah, I just basically had to set aside probably a couple of hours, maybe on a weekend, where I just prep like most of the main bits that will go alongside my food
Yeah,
for the week. So like basically bulk making some chicken, uh, bulk making some veg, and then that will be good to last me through. And then each day kind of cooking and stuff, the flexible like it's easy to make food basically each evening anyway. So even if I'm going out for a work event or something like that, I'll be able to basically like know that by the time I get home or whatever, I can easily just make my food at home anyway, and that's not a
yeah,
problem. Even when the times are it's a work meal or something like that, then on those days we basically just plan for it. So I just basically either cut some of the calories earlier in the day and bank some for later, which made it easy and manageable as well. So just like even that, when it came to like having to cut from earlier in the day, it wasn't necessarily okay, starve yourself until 7 and then basically, yeah, you can eat later. It was literally just cut out carbs, which is easy enough anyway most of the time. So it's just, yeah, like basically keep still eating the chicken, which is probably the bigger part of the meal anyway, the nice filling part of the meal, and then just the side bits you can scrap those and have them later.
yeah, 100%. What would you say, like, how? Because I remember when you were getting lean and you were sending me some of them pictures, I was like, wow, this guy's looking nuts. Like, how does it feel like when you look at them pictures of you just like absolutely shredded, and we've got that, the one that you sent me at first when you're in the mirror, and like comparing that, how does that feel? Because honestly, I look at that and I'm like, that's crazy. That's one of the craziest transformations I felt. So for that to actually be you, like, how does that feel sometimes when you're like standing there, like, you're thinking, like, how does that make you feel?
No, yeah, I mean, obviously it feels good. Yeah, I'm quite proud, obviously, of the success within this window, right? That's
You should
worked
be.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, obviously, I mean, it's just one of these things where actually it's not massively hard. There is dedication to it, of course, but it's not like hard or rocket science to kind of massively finesse this whole process. It's
yeah,
kind of just been simple steps that you've set out for us really and then just follow those. But yes, am I happy? Of course I'm happy.
yeah,
Hopefully like it's basically one where I continue to maintain this now and just kind of stick within this what I think is going to be a cycle of going up and down within a smaller range,
yeah,
and all of that always staying within kind of look that is good for me now. Like I say, I've done this stuff before, never achieved results to this magnitude ever. Right?
yeah,
I felt like I've been in good shape before, but now that I look back and I compare to where it's been now, obviously,
yeah.
worlds apart.
And like that's the whole thing. Like with regards it to being like the education you've got from it and like being able to hold this, like, are you confident now? Like me and you block me on WhatsApp, you never see me again. Like you're confident that like you can, like, you've learned the skills, you understand what you're doing. How does your mind frame, like we said, the idea of eating 2,500 calories a day before was like, oh my God, I'll become overweight doing stuff like that. Whereas now, like the mindset shift with habits and all of that, how do we feel with that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I would say that like definitely more confidence now in being able to do this myself as well, like even better than where it was before. Because I thought I had a level of confidence before, just maybe wasn't getting the best results out of it. But now I have confidence to be able to like, if you ask me now to kind of get shredded again, I think I would. In my head, at least, I can convince myself that I could
Yeah, you
probably
could
do
do
this
it.
again. I think I've got all of the know-how now based on just kind of the process we've gone through already. So I
Yeah.
think I feel reasonably confident on that side. And then the important part was knowing how to actually reverse out of it, which I've never done before properly, known how to do properly. Now that you've set out the kind of guidelines on how to go through that, and I've seen the kind of the work behind it, then yeah, again, I feel more confident that I can do that properly rather than just ballooning out.
Yeah, I think that was the because literally I remember when you joined that first call, I think the main thing, it wasn't even like I want to get shredded. Yes, you wanted to get shredded. The main thing was I want to be able to eat 2,500 calories a day as my maintenance, be in good shape. It wasn't even so. I think yes, when we got shredded, that was amazing. But the bigger thing is like, right, I think we're 6 to 8
Exactly.
weeks finished the diet. You're eating 2,500 calories a day. You're only a kilo and a half up. You're socializing for fun. How is, like, with regards to, is that sort of almost more impressive to yourself than the dieting phase?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's exactly it. Priority number one was just about food and intake.
Yeah.
Like I say, eventually want a biscuit. So
Yeah.
it's literally that. So I mean, I'd done a long spell through dieting where I was 1,700, 1,800, couldn't really eat more than that. When I did try to eat more than that, it basically go pear-shaped. So then I came to you saying, look, I want to be in a position where actually I am in decent shape and I can eat that much because there's plenty of other people I speak to who are in good shape and they're talking about eating, 2,500, 3,000 calories a day. And I'm thinking, how? Like that's impossible.
Yeah.
But actually, yeah, clearly it's not impossible because it's happening now, right? But yeah, it's just a matter of knowing how to get to that stage.
Yeah.
And I think there is a thing in that. It's a one-time investment. You do this thing once where you kind of get to this
Literally.
position, you build out your calories properly, and now
You,
hopefully, this is where you can live.
and
So
I
it's
think
good.
that's the main thing. Like you always said to me, it's an investment. You're like, we're always thinking, right, if we can just diet you down for 4 or 5 months, reverse you out for 2 or 3 months, like you're set for life. You've the skills you've learned, the position you're in, the amount of time you like. You probably wishing you did this 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Like the sooner you do it,
Yeah.
almost the better. So what would you sort of say to people who are on the fence about joining, who are like maybe in your position where you've dieted before, training before? What would your advice be to them?
Of course, no, yeah, definitely. I think just go for it because I did it on a whim and definitely do not regret it. It's like the best thing I think I've done on the whole endless pursuit for trying to get into a good shape and being able to eat well. The only thing that eventually worked was going through this process and having somebody actually kind of guide me through the whole thing, which was yeah, obviously a massive help through it all, right? And I haven't been able to do it in my say 10 years or whatever of trying prior to that. So a decade wasted and all sorted within what was it, 5, 6 months where we actually got into like amazing shape. So yeah, it's crazy that it can take half a year to get something sorted as to what was, 10 years worth of work before.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. And I think you are like this for me, like my goal is literally like you almost said, you almost feel like for me it's just I want to help people like yourself who are already training, doing these things, realize that actually it's not that hard for you to get in shape. And if you start doing the right things in 6, 7, 8 months, we will completely change your physique and you will be a different person and have that confidence that you've never had. So like for me, people like yourself again, I know you didn't really weren't too keen about doing a podcast, but for me it was all about you are like the dream client because you get a lot of people like you say come to you and they're not really willing to put the work in and things like that, whereas you from the beginning were just like, right, this is what I can do, this is what I'm going to do, and we made that plan to suit you, and it was honestly smooth. Like it was the only things were just like holidays, but we managed them well. We never regressed, and when we did, we just got straight back on plan, which was absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. Any other
I didn't think
final? Go on.
I
What did
didn't think you were going to out me there and say I didn't want to do any of
you
this.
say?
Now,
Yeah.
to be fair, I mean, look, so you're right. I don't really like to kind of go on the whole camera and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, the process was so worth it that I'm more than happy to endorse it and stand behind it.
Yeah.
So kind of like as I say, I've always kind of played with the idea, thought about it, not actually gone and done it. When I eventually pulled the trigger, is worked kind of very well in that time. So I stand behind that. I think it's yeah, definitely worth doing. Um, and then, like you say, I mean, throughout this whole 6 months, it's not just been a case of going full on dedicated like a monk and just not doing anything else but just focusing on this. I have been on multiple holidays in that
Yeah.
time. I have had work events and stuff to balance it with and all that kind of good stuff. And it's all been kind of possible, right? The light was at the end of the tunnel, got there. So it's yeah, it all worked in the end.
Amazing. What a perfect way to end that. So again, guys, if you're interested in coaching and reaching out, go follow me on Instagram, go
Give
watch
me a
these
shout.
YouTubes. Yeah. Don't follow him, he doesn't want but yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your time. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Oh, cheers. Thank you.
Perfect.